Bitcoin did another little drop, didn't it? And everyone's asking this little question, have we bottomed? And the honest answer is, I don't think we actually fully know because of the political agenda and what is happening elsewhere. There is a lot of flapping going on. And I guess you could probably argue that's pretty dangerous to kind of think, have we bottomed? Personally, I think we are following the 4-year cycle. Whether that is a good thing or not, I don't know. So what I want to do, I want to show you what actually does matter here. And we do need to talk about some of the news in Japan and all kinds of bits and pieces. But the charts don't look amazing, but don't go anywhere because Bitcoin has this little tendency to just do whatever the hell it wants. Some good data could come out and it could change that very, very quickly. If you like this sort of stuff, please do leave a like. Let's get over 100 likes because that is quite hard to do these days, especially on Bitcoin videos. And yeah, let's get into it. Now, the reason why this is quite an important video is because we are really boring. Like, boredom is the flavor for Bitcoin. It is truly awful. We are potentially inside a cycle low window, according to other content creators, which I don't tend to follow it that deeply, but Camel Finance and people like that have been talking about potentially this could be a sign where we bounce, and we should do. And I've been pretty disappointed with the lack of bounce from the drop from all-time high. But we'll see where it goes. But obviously, big red candles, structure changes, it by default looks awful. I know, I get it. But sentiment is low, volume's low. The information that we're getting from the news outlets pretty not great, are they? So yeah, it's quite hard, but normally markets don't tend to bottom when people feel comfortable. That's kind of the point. So just be mindful of that. And yeah, when blood is on the street, usually a good thing to look at. But personally, I'm going to buy lower. Now, this is a really interesting news headline. How one Bitcoin whale is absorbing the world's entire daily mining supply. Smart money rarely buys breakout, so to speak. They tend to buy a little bit of uncertainty. Blood is on the street, as I alluded to before. The thing is, we've got 300 BTC per day, give or take around that point, has been kind of been bought. And that's quite a big amount of money. $470 per second all day long. That gives you, this is institutional vibes. So we need to keep an open mind to why this is happening, why and who is buying, probably Michael Saylor, to be honest with you. But yeah, whales are buying into this area, which is interesting. Obviously, yes, it's not retail FOMO, it's not the ETFs in that way. This realistically feels like a bigger player. So we need to be very, very mindful of it. And yes, you could argue there's been failures around, obviously, breakouts and stuff like that, but keep an open mind. And this one we need to talk about because Japan's created all kinds of havoc. Why Bitcoin is the blast radius after Japan bond market hit a terrifying 30-year breaking point. Now, if you don't know this, it's hit extreme levels. It's pretty gnarly. And yeah, we could talk about how global stress, the bond market, macro pressure, you could put all these buzzwords into a box if you wanted to. But yeah, risk assets will always wobble first. Obviously, we've seen that in, was it August last year or whenever it was when, you know, the carry trade pretty much went, it died, didn't it? So don't marry the narrative, but look around you, put it that way, because yeah, you got macro stress, and I get it. It creates volatility, it creates problems, and the narrative is always around certain things. Obviously, we know it in terms of privacy coins, with obviously altcoins, with Bitcoin, store of value, gold, whatever. And one of the narratives was always around Japan, how Japan was one of the safest and best markets around. That isn't the case anymore. So be mindful of it. You know, this is here obvious. The signal people can't ignore. Long bonds are screaming, and they are. So don't marry the narrative that the bond market is safe or whatever, because that's what people were. And we're going to talk about lots of things. And even here, this is on like the 1st of December, you know, a while ago, obviously, but 150 billion was wiped out. Bitcoin drops on the yield shock. So Japan is a really big part of why the dollar does stuff and why certain things in the trade inside of it does certain things. If you got tension, guess what? You're going to create volatility and a little bit of panic. But we can talk in very obvious terms. Nothing has broken yet for Bitcoin properly. Weekly time frame doesn't look great, does it? And I'll be honest, it could be better. It's failed in terms of this area. We went up to the EMA 21 on the weekly and just went, nah, not having it. No thanks. So not ideal. You could still argue we can kind of hold on for dear life here, but it's still a bit of an issue, isn't it? It's not ideal. And yeah, these little fake outs and breakouts that have gone wrong, yeah, it just becomes a bit boring and people are giving up. I can see it all across, and we'll talk about sentiment and psychological stuff in a minute. But at the end of the day, this shift is really important. We need to get above that red box. We need to go much higher. Monthly time frame, weekly time frame. That looks like absolute shite. That's awful. And I did talk about it yesterday in terms of my targets for Bitcoin on my Patreon video yesterday. There's a link below, by the way, if you want to jump in. But the question that I got was 100k or 80k, and I'm really rooting for, I want it to be 100k, but I look at this kind of area where we went and tapped that region and just rejected. It makes me think that 100k level is probably less probable, if that makes sense. Whereas we're looking at this now, I thought, oh, change of character, but we went right back under it. And it's like, we've basically did a change of character to the upside and then failed, and then did another break of structure and a change of character down here. Oops. So I'm looking at that and thinking, it's not looking good, bruv. Put it that way. And that's as simple as it comes. And everything is looking a bit ropey. And if you talk about Trump saying wonderful words and the Japan situation, other bits and pieces that are going on right now, it doesn't look great when we talk about the obvious in the room. Sentiment, volume, it's low, it's bad. Psychologically, it's awful. People are giving up. And if you are quitting, you just don't get finances, because realistically, there's always going to be periods of crap. There's always going to be a bull market somewhere and not always in your market. So that will become a big factor. And yeah, you can talk about a low is not a feeling, it's a process, sort of speak. And realistically, you could talk about that in a lot of things. Profits, process of buying things, buying the lows, doing things. Obviously, yes, it can go much lower, and I think it will. Hence why I've got orders much lower. And I do talk about exit plans and exit strategies on a mini guide on my Patreon. And I say, jump in, learn as much as you can in this market, because there's a lot of influencers out there that are literally taking the piss. They are literally just doing videos for views and not helping you in any way, shape or form. But the reality is, and the question of this video is, have we bottomed? I don't think we have. I don't think this is a bottom. I think this could get pretty ropey. I don't think this is a bottom. I think we're going to go lower. Whether we bounce and go a little bit higher first is a different situation. But for me, as an investor, I want it to go lower, because I think it will go lower, because I think we've cooked. Because going a little bit deeper, I could talk about the comment section of any YouTube video now. The amount of views that people are getting is a lot lower. I've talked about that before. The dominance of Bitcoin is by far the most boring I've ever seen it in its lifespan. This is like, any market, as I said before, that doesn't get any sunlight for a while, it just becomes a bit toxic. And then people quit. The people who stay and buy the lows always win. The thing is, people will always flip on sentiments of very, very simplistic situations. I mean, look at the total market cap, right? For example, going back in time for over the course of weeks and months, this is over the course of how, I know it's hard to kind of see here and quantify, but you can kind of see the big rises, the big drops, the big rise. You get the idea, right? We are currently going down, obviously. But the situation is, the people who bought in the red zones and low at those red zones made money. And this is the thing, I get it all the time in my Discord. I wish I bought metals. I wish I bought this. I wish I bought that. The thing is, people are looking at it from a different time horizon. For me, I bought Bitcoin early. I'm all right. I bought low in, 2016. I bought again low in 2018. I bought again low in 2019, 2020. And I bought again, realistically, in 2021, 2022, when it started to drop quite aggressively from its tops. You've got to be in it to win it. And I know that sounds very trivial, but there's so many people that give up based off nothing, right? Look at the S&P, look at the FTSE 100, look at the NASDAQ. Time in the market will always win, right? But you've got to be clever. You've got to be clever. You've got to take some money off the table. You've got to rebuy back low if you can. Stable currency dominance is screaming to us, this is getting worse. Hence this bit. If this starts to go down, I will probably change my bias. We're probably going to go into this situation where money is coming out of assets into stables and going to camp there. But I want to be absolutely brutally honest with you all here. I'm in the stock market. I am also in crypto. I'm not buying blindly. I have a plan, and people are like quickly noticing that these are my levels of orders. If we get there, brilliant. I think this is unlikely, by the way, just saying. But it's there in case. I probably will pull the trigger before that. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, I still have a split and a plan. I have 73% of my holdings that I want to play with sitting there, chilling. I have Bitcoin I won't touch. I have Bitcoin I will play with. I have 30%, give or take, in and around that number, of stables where I sold much higher that I will want to rebuy back low. Tax is the biggest problem for me for obvious reasons. I earn a lot. I pay 24% tax. I bought years and years and years ago, 2016. So I don't really want to kill myself with capital appreciation tax, which is not ideal. Holding can still be powerful, realistically, but be patient, chill. Look at that chart. Even that's Binance. Over the course of time, that still looks all right. If that was a stock, people would be aping into that at much lower levels because they believe in it. That's the psychological factor. Let's have a little look at two things before we go, because I think people forget. Let's look at the S&P 500. Not the greatest chart in the world. It doesn't have as much history, this one that I use. But over the course of time, it has done well. And you can argue Bitcoin looks pretty similar-ish to this. You can also look at the US tech market, which is obviously the NASDAQ, similar sort of vibes. This is the thing. Time in the market is key. If you bottled it at a certain point and no longer in it, you're going to lose. The FTSE 100 is starting to do well after years of doing nothing realistically interesting as well. So yeah, we have to be very, very careful. But what about gold? Look at gold. I know this is a bit of a mental chart, by the way. But if you believe in something, you stay in it. Imagine all the people that gave up with gold and went into crypto, and then the big rotation happened. Ooh, burn. But the trick is to be diversified. This is my stock market portfolio. I do have another channel where I cover all this. And if you do want to jump in, there will be a link at some point. You'll probably find it. Your money, mate. This is my performance since resetting my ISA from Bitcoin miners about, 9 months ago, give or take. That performance has been unreal, considering most of them are funds, most of them are just individual stocks that are dividend payers, which don't tend to move as much. It's huge returns, really, when you think about it. That's mental in a very, very small period of time. What's Bitcoin done in that period? It's gone down a lot. So yeah, diversification is absolutely key. And as I said before, there's always a bull market somewhere. Look at metals, look at the stock market. It's crazy when you think about it, especially the UK market. And I mentioned this in my last video. People are getting bored, but there is opportunities out there. If you want to trade the market, if you want to ride narratives and have a bit of fun, genuinely, the UK market is a pain in the ass, but this is open. Just jump in, learn stuff, get better with technical analysis, get better with trading, get better with whatever you want to do. But if you quit, it's pointless, utterly pointless. But yeah, let's be honest here. Bitcoin is never going to bottom when it feels like it. It will do it when it's ready. I think we are getting quite close to panic station, so I genuinely do think that. And yeah, as I say, I do talk about this a lot on my Patreon, and people do get a bit pretty pissy when I talk about it. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin has done 84% correction to 74% correction in the last cycle. There's nothing stopping it doing a 60 to 65% correction, which would send us in and around those $50,000 levels, obviously. So we've got to be very, very careful with where we go here. And it won't happen overnight, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin may bounce, people might get excited, might come back, and then it might go lower. We haven't had that big boy bounce from those all-time high lows yet. And if we haven't, and we're not going to get them, and we're going to go lower, it's going to really hurt and sting. So be mindful of that. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, slap a like, comment what you think, and subscribe for more. But you probably won't want to do that, will you? Because I've probably made you wince a little bit. Apologies. Anyways, watch this video as well. Quite a useful one. Might help you out a bit.